So of the three strategies, there's my co-talent. Of the three strategies that we use to not feel our own feelings and be with ourselves in our most vulnerable state and not be vulnerable, is usually one of three outs. We either lash out, try to change somebody else, we numb out, we ingest, we smoke, we drink, imbibe, whatever, something to not feel what we're feeling, or we just check out. I'm not feeling this. I'm going to be cold and in my head and not be vulnerable. And they're all not solving the problem of healing your own emotional triggers. None of it is really going to change anything. But they are bad in each their way. And I would say probably the one you really have to put the kibosh on right off the bat is the lashing out, is the demanding that somebody else change so you don't have to feel your feelings. They may have to. You may have to go to couples therapy with a spouse or a partner, or you may have to leave a job if somebody is a bully or what have you. But you want to process the feeling inside the energy field of your body first and foremost, and the other person doesn't have to be part of that, unless you are in a deeply loving union where you can do that work together in a conscious way. And that can be really beautiful when you get to that point with someone. But up until that point, when it's just a lot of demanding that someone else do something differently so you don't have to feel yourself, that just has to stop. You just don't send the text, you don't call, and you just dismiss the messenger, so to speak, of what is going on inside yourself. The numbing out obviously can also become a big problem if you are, seriously addicted to any substance. It's going to create problems in your life, in your body. So that, of course, also has to be addressed. And often the two go together. Often, if you are impacted by your addictive substance, if you eat a lot of sugar, you're way more likely to lash out and lose your cool. Same with alcohol and many other things. And then, of course, there are also addictive substances that put you into sort of a catatonic state where you also just don't feel anything. And that sort of bleeds into the I'm checking out, I'm not feeling this. What you really want to get to is a point where you become willing, able. It is a practice to be with yourself, feel yourself, be with yourself, feel yourself, be with yourself, feel yourself at a level where you really sense what is going on inside your body. And you can be honest about that, first and foremost to yourself. And if you're with a loving person who's also on a path, you can communicate that from that place. And that might very likely deepen the connection you have with that other person, and might even invite them to be vulnerable about what's truly going on for them. And then we step out of, I step out of my 5-year-old self and you step out of your 9-year-old self. And then suddenly we're two adults with vulnerabilities that we carry around, that is a part of how we get to know each other and how we deepen a relationship with somebody else, and where we really see the soul and we see the woundedness, but the woundedness is not aimed at us anymore. We're not stand-ins for a former villain, which is so often what happens in relationships. There can be all these good aspects to a relationship, but then you have this part of the relationship where you kind of drop into these two roles, and all of a sudden, I will be a stand-in for your mom, and you'll be a stand-in for my mom or my dad or a former boyfriend, and then it's not really the two people that are talking anymore. And that can even it can even you can even believe that you're now being your vulnerable self, because maybe you managed not to lash out in some dramatic way, and maybe you managed not to go to some numbing agent, but then you're kind of in that I'm not feeling this place, and you're talking the talk, but you're not actually in your body, you're not actually feeling yourself. And that's something to really watch out for too, as you get to know yourself, because in many ways This is not just about getting closer to a partner or a friend or a family member that you might have some triggering issues with. It's about really getting to know yourself in a very intimate way, where you become really soft inside and really soft with yourself and willing to sit with whatever is there. And none of that should be dismissed. It should be felt and listened to, and not going into some dramatic story about other people so much, but whatever's happening out there, here's how that feels. Here's where I sense it in my body. Here's where I can barely breathe. And really be with that part of yourself and stay with that part of yourself. And when you do that, first and foremost, internally, something shifts. It's almost like we have these different facets of ourselves, and that vulnerable part of us starts to trust that, adult part of us that may not want to be vulnerable. But if we want to be a really, really best friend to ourselves, we let that more mature, cool, educated, experienced, whatever have you, adult version of yourself really be there for that vulnerable part. And ultimately they're one. They're not two different facets. They melt together and speak in union. So it's neither a sad child nor a cool, busy adult running the show. It's like a inner collaboration of these parts of ourselves. But it always requires softening, deepening, feeling where the tension is in the body, being with that place within, and not reacting out of that place. And knowing that energy. And if you're lucky, you will eventually find a partner where you do this work together. And that doesn't mean that there isn't also work to be done separately, because having somebody else's compassion and empathy is incredibly beautiful and healing, and can mean so much. Like there's a saying, we get hurt in relationship, we heal in relationship. But that doesn't mean that we can't also do quite a bit of that healing process on our own. And then when we're met by someone else who can empathically listen to that part of us, then that does shift something inside as well. But don't wait for someone to come and rescue you that way. The rescue is you and your willingness to drop fully in and be in the softness of your own body. Feel where the breath is not entering the body fully, and giving yourself the spaciousness to breathe fully and be with what is. And forgive yourself if you end up sending a bad text or having a glass of wine or eat a bowl of ice cream and those things. I mean, there are obviously unforgivable things, if there's such a thing. Very bad things to do when you're in a trigger state, and definitely try to dial any crazy behavior way, way, way back, because you make karma for yourself when you spew, and you wreak havoc on your body when you try to use food, substances, smoking, whatever it is, to not feel. And if you start to see yourself wanting more of that, whatever your thing is, like, I'm just going to swing by Kowalski's and get a tiramisu tonight. It's like, okay, that's cool. I don't think a tiramisu is going to kill me. But I still know inside myself that when I want that creamy, sweet something, it's because I want mommy. I want that energy, and I need to give that to myself. And often if I give that to myself, suddenly the tiramisu is too sweet. It's actually the real thing that always heals is love and presence. Loving presence, present love. That's always what we really want. All the rest are substitutes. And in working with addictions of different kinds, I think that's also really important to have that compassion, that what you really want is presence and love. And these other things are just attempts to fill that void inside when presence and love is not there. But presence and love is cultivated inside the body by us because we are divine beings in bodies. And meditation, breath work, body scanning, self-inquiry. I have so many different options available, different methods inside the Heal What Hurts process, which I think everybody should do if you ever have experienced emotional triggers being a problem in your life. But short of that, find a meditation practice that works, a breathing practice that works, a stillness practice that works. Because the divine is already in there. It just has to kind of be allowed to flow in the body and flow to those places. It's not like you don't already have the greatest healer within you, the healing, loving presence within you. It's just how do you sort of change to that channel and spend more time in that channel and notice when you're on your way out, when things get tense and the energy is shifting. So that's my inspiration for this beautiful July day. I send you so much love. Do check out the Heal What Hurts process. It's an amazing 8-week process that works wonders for anybody who's gone through it. And short of that, I do have one-day courses that I do here in St. Paul locally. I also do it online. And then I offer private coaching sessions if you want to work in a more private individualized session. But the 8-week course, it's small. We only have like 6 to 8 people in the group because I want it to be really intimate and I want you to really get the personal attention. It is life-changing to get to the point where you self-source and you find this deep grounding within yourself, and you slowly but surely build emotional sovereignty. And that makes you a better partner. It's not like, well, then I have to be alone with my emotional sovereignty. No, then you meet somebody else in a way that is not from a need for that person to fulfill some void in you that you're refusing to fill yourself. And you the same, right? You don't want a partner that needs you in a way that feels unhealthy, like they're not okay if you're not doing XYZ and you have to tiptoe around them in some way. So it's super exciting. And I'm so excited to be doing this work. I absolutely love seeing people go from being kind of messed up by their triggers in their physiology and in their relationships, and moving towards something much, much healthier. So check me out, www.mariatoso.com.